Everybody, welcome to 2 Out the First. Great to have you here after a good long weekend. I'm Ryan Ballingy. Thanks for being here. We've got plenty to talk about. Big full weekend of golf that we got to enjoy between the BMW PGA Championship on the DP World Tour. We'll start with that. Then we're going to talk a little bit about LIV Golf's team championship event that concluded on Sunday in the Dallas area. Then I want to give some flowers to Lydia Ko, who has done it once again on the LPGA Tour and having an incredible season. Finished out another victory in Cincinnati. We'll talk about that. And then our final bullet point, another fun week of talking about infrastructure for tournaments, because apparently there's something going on in Montreal with a bridge and buses, and we'll have a lot of fun talking about that too. Let's start, though, with the BMW PGA Championship, flagship event on the DP World Tour, Wentworth Club, about 20 minutes-ish away from Heathrow Airport, an hour, 45 minutes depending on traffic, southwest of downtown London. Great tournament. Again, their biggest event on the schedule, $9 million purse, one of the best fields they've had in years in terms of top 50 players competing in this event. And even I was kind of surprised at how many players came over from the top 50. A lot of them PGA Tour regulars, most of them internationally born, right? But the one standout American who made his way over once again to compete was Billy Horschel. Won this tournament a couple of years ago. A similar situation to this year, where he had been snubbed for a team competition, felt like he had been snubbed for a team competition. President's Cup then in Charlotte, President's Cup now in Montreal, that he felt he should be a part of those teams. Didn't get the call. Back then he won. This time he won. He is now the first American to have won the BMW PGA Championship twice in a career. That's a tournament that's gone back to the mid-1950s. So this is a tournament with extensive history. I mean, we're getting near 75 years of history for this tournament. And Billy Horschel is the only American to have won it twice. He did it in dramatic fashion on Sunday. He wound up winning a three-person playoff after he, Rory McIlroy, and Thriston Lawrence all got to the house on 20 under 268. McIlroy had some theatrics down the stretch. He eagles 17. They're back-to-back par fives to close out at Wentworth, on this course at Wentworth. Makes a 40-footer, 50-footer, right in the heart. Sets himself up to give himself a chance to win with a birdie on the last, because Thriston Lawrence playing ahead. He was at 20 under, knew he had to birdie 18 to lock up the win. Winds up getting on with a birdie putt, gets on in 3. He has a 35-footer that's, 6 inches short of going in, right on the line. Perfect putt. Just lost the speed at the end. Slaps his hands. He knows that probably means he can't win, because he's thinking McIlroy is surely going to birdie the last hole. But then McIlroy goes for it in 2, because it's a short hole. It's 515 yards versus 560 yards at 17. Two very different par fives back to back, which I actually love about Wentworth. And he winds up trying to hit this big old sweeping hook. He's struggling hitting irons all day. It's this big old sweeping hook. It looks like it might go in the water, just like Aaron Rai tried to pull off in the middle of the fairway just a couple of a group earlier, and didn't pull it off. He was trying to play to make an eagle to find his way into the mix. And then McIlroy winds up unable to make the birdie putt to win the tournament outright. Horschel's there. He gets the 20 under. We've got ourselves a 3-person playoff. I love that kind of drama. The crowds were great. They rooted for everybody tremendously well. It's a tournament I would really like to cover in person someday. There are a number of DP World Tour events that I would like to go see in person someday, whether as a spectator or, kind of in this job. But this would be one of those ones right up there, along with the Omega European Masters over in Switzerland. So they go to the playoff. They're going to play 18 over and over again till they get a winner. First time around, you get Thriston Lawrence, who hits a poor drive and kind of makes a mess of the hole because he tries to advance the ball too far. He winds up going from the right to the left, kind of playing a little bit of army golf, finds a fairway bunker. He knows he's going to put a whole ton of spin on it because it's the shortest shot. He's got a wedge in hand. He doesn't hit it far enough. It spins back into the water. He's out. Then you've got McIlroy and Horschel. They both get into, onto the green into similar style. And they miss the green. McIlroy goes a little deep, and Horschel finds the bunker. Horschel chunks and runs out of the bunker beautifully, gets it down to 6-7 feet, and McIlroy goes ahead and hits a very unlucky bounce on his chip shot, but it gets down there close enough. It kind of straightens out. He goes ahead and makes the putt. Horschel makes on top. They go back and do it again. They both find the green and two again. This time they are much closer together. I mean, McIlroy has to go first because and it was by a whisker kind of length in terms of difference. McIlroy goes first, hits a good putt, looks good almost all the way, drops off at the end within a foot, certain birdie. You're thinking Horschel facing a similar length putt probably isn't going to make it. It's unlikely to go in the hole. They're going to play a third playoff hole. Instead, his putt goes in the middle of the middle for eagle. He winds up winning the BMW PGA Championship for the second time. A little bit unexpected, but not completely unexpected for a guy who says this tournament for him is behind the majors and the players in terms of importance. And this is a guy who's won a FedEx Cup, by the way. So he's done things in terms of a money scale that very few people have ever done in professional golf. And to rank this tournament at that level, I think really speaks volumes about what he thinks of the BMW PGA Championship. And it was really interesting to hear Horschel speak after the fact about how he's proud to have won. He's very grateful to have won this tournament again, but also feels tremendously bad for McIlroy and almost in a way wanted him to win instead because McIlroy is a great player and he called him a great friend and a good guy, and he didn't really want to beat him. And you could kind of see that kind of reservation, the sheepishness that Horschel had in winning. Because when the putt went in, his arms go up in the air because he won. And that's what you do when something cool happens and you want to celebrate. But at the same time, he almost just as quickly dropped his arms and looked at McIlroy kind of with this "I'm sorry" look. And I thought that was really interesting. I mean, I don't think in your heart of hearts you really want someone to beat you, especially with a trophy this important on the line. But I do believe that Horschel wants the best for the people he likes. I mean, when Aaron Rai won at the Wyndham and they played together in the final group, I don't think anyone was happier for Aaron Rai than Billy Horschel, and that includes Aaron Rai. And just to kind of put his arm around him and hug him and fist bump him and all that stuff, because he knew what it meant to break through on the PGA Tour for Aaron Rai. He knew what this win would have meant to McIlroy, who's had so many close calls this year between the U.S. Open, between coming up just one short the week prior at the Irish Open, in his homeland, and one of the best courses on the planet at Royal County Down. And then to get in this situation once again and come up just short because the right putt goes in, the eagle putt goes in. I understand that. And to his credit, McIlroy has always been great about this in public. I'm sure he has to steam about this at some point in his life. But to get so close so often and then to just have your heart pulled out and stomped on again and again and again, this game will beat you down. And I've said that to so many people over the years, not just for professionals, but for you and me. It's really hard to take losing in general. It's really hard to take when you put in so much effort to it. I can't imagine what it's like to take losing at this level over and over and over again, knowing you're one of the best players on the planet and you're just a couple of different things away from having so many more trophies, several more majors. I mean, just all kinds of what ifs that have to go through his mind at different times. But credit to him for saying he's excited about where he is, what that can mean for his game moving forward, and what it can mean for him in 2025. He's still got some golf left to play this year. He got the Dunhill Links. He's got the remainder of the DP World Tour playoffs, so the final couple of events there in the United Arab Emirates. He's going to close out his year playing on the DP World Tour, but he still has a lot of great golf left within him. And I think, if anything, the last couple of years, because the level of consistency has been there, he knows he's good enough. He knows he's good enough to win. And what the maddening thing has to be is that at this level, the difference between winning and losing, being Scotty Scheffler and winning 7 times in a year and being Rory McIlroy and getting left with your heart on the floor again, is a putt here and there. It really is that small of a difference. That's the difference between those guys. That's the difference between being one of the best players on the Korn Ferry Tour and getting a card, which we'll touch on a little bit, and not. And the differences at this level are extremely small, and you have to fight like hell for your sanity, because if you let yourself go down the rabbit hole of trying to chase an extra tenth of a shot, quarter of a shot, half a shot, whatever that is, you may go mad. You may lose everything that you bring to the table in search of something else that may not really even put you over the line in the end. And so it's interesting to me to have McIlroy be so grounded about it, just say, I'm excited about where I am. I'm going to keep going. It's going to get better. Those are all great traits. And it stinks for him that someone in his family did something horrible 600 years ago, probably, and got him cursed for a lifetime and all of his ancestors. But it was darn entertaining. And to Thriston Lawrence, who's been on the raw end of a second place finish, I think 5 times now this season on the DP World Tour. He did win on the Sunshine Tour recently. He has played great throughout the entire year. He is a guy that's knocking on the door of so many different titles. And he kind of pops up out of nowhere sometimes, but he is a guy that is really enjoyable to watch. Plays pretty quickly. He just gets it done, and he plays well, and he seems to be a really enjoyable guy to watch. So kudos to him for getting this far. I don't want him to be the forgotten guy in all of this, but for Billy Horschel, I think the secret for him is just being snubbed for a team. Just tell him he's not good enough to do something, and he will dare to prove you wrong time and time again. It feels like the nature of his career. He is now 17th in the official World Golf ranking, and that's a pretty incredible achievement. It's cool to see a guy at this stage of his career, and he's not 45, 50, but he's up there in a stage where he's never been that extremely long of a hitter. He's facing guys that hit it so much farther than he does, and yet he can still get the job done and win. Pretty cool to watch. So for me, in terms of tournaments of the year, that is right up there with the U.S. Open, maybe right up there with. I also love the Open this year. I love the AIG Women's Open. That was one of my tournaments of the year. So a lot of overseas golf delivering for us this year. And then obviously the year of Scotty Scheffler too, which has been great too. All right, let's switch gears a little bit to LIV Golf. They had their team championship on Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the Dallas area at Maridoe Golf Club. What I didn't know or expect was a couple of different styles of, hey, I went to LIV Golf, here's my experience, pieces of content. One from Rick Moe, Top 100 Rick on X. Shout out to him. Great guy to play golf with, and he's enjoying incredible adventures in life. He went to the Dallas event. He's from that area. And then you had Joe LaMagna over at Friday Golf, who went to an event as well. And they both did things in their own way. Like Joe wrote about it, and then you had Rick do a tweet thread about it. And they both went and kind of talked about it. But from what I saw, and I watched the very end on TV because the NFL games on Sunday were horrible. But I think my takeaway from this was that I think that the team thing should have been what LIV led with. It should have been the thing that was the galvanizing part of LIV. Because I feel like this is their best tournament. This is the best thing they do. And it's really not even all that close. Because it's really hard, as Rick and Joseph both pointed out in their pieces, to take LIV seriously in person because all of the distractions around tell you that they devalue the golf inside the ropes, right? The concerts, the music, all that, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a different style of presentation, but in a way it diminishes what's going on inside the ropes. And also, if you don't have a ton of people there and they're all hanging out for the music or for the drinks or for the food trucks or for the kids, whatever, anything other than the golf, devalues the golf. But this tournament, I think, really does tend to work. The match play format over Friday and Saturday was quite enjoyable. That produced some upsets. I don't know what that says. We'll talk about that in a minute. But then to go and upend the entire format on Sunday and go from match play, which I think is really cool, to going to a 4-person, every player counts, 18-hole stroke play event to have every player in the field compete. I think that's a miss. I think that's a big miss. I understand why they do it, because they want all 52 golfers to play in this case. And they want to potentially manufacture some drama by having 4 teams instead of just 2 teams. If it's all blowout in a final situation, then that could be bad for TV just the same. But I feel like making that change in format really upends the good that happens on Friday and Saturday in terms of a competitive interest. But my overall takeaway is LIV would have been so much more successful if they had $25 million tournaments and the team component was worth $20 million and the individual component was worth $5 million. Because they would have truly leaned into this idea instead of team golf being bolted on as the last event of the season, being worth $5 of the $25 million in the weekly purse, and kind of being diminished as something that just kind of feels like a silly add-on a superfluous add-on. They could have led with it. And they could have said, all right, we're going to do team golf every week. And they could have done this format. It could have been something similar to this, where you had a round robin style, where you had whatever number of events, not going to do the math well in my head, but you had a round robin style. Every played each other once to start out a tournament, and then you kind of played your way down each week. That could have been cool. And then you could have had some way of doing it with part match play, part stroke play, have the individual purse be the $5 million. Winner gets $3 million, second place gets $1.5 million, third place gets $500,000. Everybody else gets zero. It would feel kind of brutalist, but it would be much more interesting from a competitive standpoint, knowing that $1.5 million is the difference between first and second, and then the difference between second and third is $1 million, and the difference to everybody else's $500,000 because you get nothing, and have all the money otherwise go through the team, so that team performance really does dictate how everyone is paid. Because I think what you saw the all-Australian team called Ripper, led by Cam Smith, wound up winning. They wound up winning by, I believe it was 3 shots in the end. Might have been 2, but I think it's 3 shots in the end over the Ironheads, who were the worst team in the league all year, and the 4 Aces, who won the first year's team competition, but were collectively not very good this year. And the other 3 players outside of Cam Smith, Mark Leishman and Matt Jones and Lucas Herbert, they all ran out onto the green celebrating with Cam Smith because they had won. But for them, it was an enormous payday. They each got $1.4 million, just like Cam Smith did, for being on the winning side. The team gets 60% of the $14 million. Each player gets 10% of the $14 million that went to the winner. That was their biggest paydays on LIV, basically, for all of them. And so it was a meaningful thing for Cam Smith, the best player who signed an enormous contract and has all that guaranteed money, to win with his guys. And I think that would have been a better way to lead LIV forward. But instead, we've got this current system. And it's not going to change because we don't know what's going to happen in these negotiations between the PGA Tour, LIV, and the Public Investment Fund. We know LIV Golf is probably not going to go away for Department of Justice reasons, antitrust reasons. So some form of team golf is going to take the future. But I think that would be my suggestion. If LIV Golf is going to continue to live on in some fashion as a bolt-on or as its own little series, and I think it would probably be more of a bolt-on to signature events than in its own series. It's too much more golf. I think you have to lead with the team component. You have to find a way to lead with that, or otherwise you've lost the plot. Also want to mention that apparently the Cleeks are going through a rebrand. Unfortunately for Tron Carter of No Laying Up, all of his Cleeks merchandise will now be, irrelevant. They may be going through a rebrand. Sounds like Richard Bland said that they're going to be changing something about Cleeks, team name, logo, both. Who knows? But that all Cleeks merchandise is very much on sale now at the LIV Golf Pro Shop. So if you want to get yours, get yours. They may not be the Cleeks for much longer. And again, this is how things kind of go. Like they change team names, they change logoing, they introduce new teams. Those things change. That's fine. But Cleeks, maybe no more. All right. A couple of shout outs before we get out of here. One to Matt McCarty, who locked up the #1 spot on the Korn Ferry Tour points list after the Nationwide Children's Hospital Championship. 3rd leg of 4 in the Korn Ferry Tour finals that just finished on Sunday in Columbus, Ohio. The top 75 players in the standings qualify for the season-ending Korn Ferry Tour Championship, which will be a French Lick resort presented by United Leasing and Finance. We'll be out there live on GNN TV. It is not this week. It is next week out in Indiana. We'll be doing live versions of this show out there and French Lick. So look out for those. We're very, very excited about that. And of those top 75 players, the top 30 in the standings at the end of the Tour Championship get PGA Tour cards for next season. It hasn't been made official by the Tour's math yet, but basically 24 of the 30 spots cards have been claimed as a result of the Nationwide Children's Hospital Championship. Matt McCarty is #1. He is #1 by more than 600 points, which is what you get when you win a tournament in the finals, any of the 4. So he does not have to play the season-ending Tour Championship. Instead, because he has a 3-win promotion, he got promoted to the PGA Tour after a 3rd win, he can now go play the Sanderson Farms Championship down in Jackson, Mississippi. Instead, go play for a bigger purse, get a bite of the PGA Tour apple that he will have access to for the remainder of the fall, because he is guaranteed to be number one. And with that comes a fully exempt PGA Tour card, which means you don't have to deal with what's called the reshuffle, which is too nerdy to get into here. But he also gets berths into the Players' Championship and the U.S. Open, which is great for him. That's huge. That's huge for any player, especially with the added-on U.S. Open berth. That is a new thing. Great for him to be able to have access to that. Frankie Sapp III wound up winning in Columbus. He shot 58 earlier this year at Texas Rangers Golf Club in Arlington. He's had an incredible season. Had a really good first part of the year. Kind of trailed off a little bit. Has got it back here. Got that breakthrough win. He still has an outside chance of finishing number 2 in the standings. Those things matter. Those deviations matter. Not so much between 2 and 5, which is where he is in the points list now, but between 2 and 30 or 2 and 25, it's huge because the difference is the order in which you get into PGA Tour events. And graduating from the Korn Ferry Tour gets you a card, but it doesn't get you a top spot. You got to go through all the players in the top 125. You got to go through all the players that you're lumped in with as a Korn Ferry Tour graduate that finished 126 through 150 the previous season. The top 10 players on the DP World Tour, the few players that get through Q School and get a PGA Tour card, you're all lumped together. And you got to find a way to get into tournaments, and you got to earn PGA Tour points, FedEx Cup points to keep your status and keep improving it over the course of every number of tournaments. Or otherwise, you're going to find yourself very quickly thinking about playing back on the Korn Ferry Tour in a desperate attempt to try to keep your PGA Tour card. So being as high up as you can on the points list is extremely important. Matt McCarty does not have to deal with that. Good for him on doing it. And shout out to Frankie Sapp for getting that win. Also a shout out for Lydia Ko, who won her 22nd LPGA Tour title on Sunday at the Kroger Queen City Championship. She wound up winning by 5, which is wild because she started the day 2 back. And she shot, 63 in the final round, blew everyone away. Gino Titicol could not keep up with her. Hayram Rue ran a good race, but could not go back-to-back on the LPGA. And Lydia Ko is once again a champion. Lydia Ko's career arc is so fascinating to me because she kind of goes up and down at different points. If you look at kind of the whole arc of it, way up, way down, up again, little down from 22 to 23, and then way up again. Just a fascinating career story for Lydia Ko, who has kind of put to bed any rumors that she's going to retire after this year. I think when she realized she's got something here. She can go win 30 times. She can go win 35 times in the LPGA if she wants to keep going. Power is not an issue for her on this tour. She is just incredible. So congratulations to her on a great year. We're going to wrap everything up today with just a quick discussion about the infrastructure at the President's Cup because there may be some bus issues. And if this sounds familiar because it happened at the Solheim Cup, it could be happening here. There's apparently a bridge that has to go from the main part of Montreal to the island where Royal Montreal Golf Club is. And that bridge was supposed to undergo some reconstruction, some renovation, but they have instead put that off until 2025. And that has limited the ability for buses and vehicles to move in and around that bridge, which might make it kind of tricky to get in and out of the venue this week at the President's Cup. The folks at the President's Cup say they're ready. I hope that they are because we don't want to go through this in back-to-back international events this fall. But that may be something that comes up. So keep an eye out for that. We'll see what happens there. That's going to do it for us today on the show. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I appreciate it. If you catch us live on the live stream on GNN TV, as a podcast, however you do, thanks for doing it. It's very meaningful. We appreciate it. Back with another show tomorrow. We do have a pretty good slate of tournaments this week. We've got the Spanish Open with John Rahm playing. Got the President's Cup. We got the LPGA in Northwest Arkansas. We've still got a lot going on in the fall. Still plenty of great golf to be played. We'll be here to talk about it all with you. Email me, ryan@thegolfnewsnet.com. Use the promo code from our sponsor, Swannies Golf. Swannies.co. Use the promo code GolfNewsNet25 and save 25% off your first order. Back tomorrow. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time on 2 Off the First.